Joining the conversation, we have MSNBC contributor Mike Barnicle, NBC News and MSNBC political analyst, former U.S. Senator Claire McCaskill, President Obama's 2008 campaign manager and White House senior advisor David Plouffe, and author and NBC News presidential historian Michael Beschloss, and author, columnist, and political analyst Jonathan Alter. David Plouffe, I'll start with you. What will it take to get the Democratic side of this race organized and focused? And can Kamala Harris prosecute the case against Donald Trump?
I think so, Mika. The next couple of weeks will be a challenge, obviously, both operationally and organizationally. But most importantly, Kamala Harris has to introduce herself to the nation. That may seem odd. She's a sitting vice president, but she's got to start from the basics of her biography, her time as a prosecutor, things she accomplished in the Senate, the things she believes in and what she fights for. And then obviously stand up the compelling contrast that needs to be in place to defeat Donald Trump. So obviously having an energized party behind you helps a great deal. Financially, of course, but I think most importantly, in terms of turnout, in terms of the volunteers to produce that kind of turnout. And what we've seen throughout the last month or so is a huge delta between Democratic Senate candidates and the presidential campaign. And that's not going to disappear overnight, but I think Kamala Harris probably gives us the best opportunity to close that. And then if that happens, that puts this race right back into dead heat territory. And if, Donald Trump wants to run around states like New Mexico and Minnesota, God love him. But this is going to come down to those core states. But listen, this is, as we've seen historically, you go from off Broadway to Broadway. Even though she's been vice president, you're now on Broadway. And those spotlights are incredibly intense. A lot of people don't survive them. So I think for me, I look at where is this race in a couple of weeks? If she's been able to survive, her initial core message, which we haven't heard yet other than that statement, we're going to hear her first interviews. We're going to see how she uses social media. I'm very excited about that. I think she's got the ability to tap into people where they get information. With all due respect to Morning Joe and this great network, the people who decide this election, are hearing their information almost exclusively outside of it. So I'm excited about that, but we should not underestimate the challenge here.
Wait a second.
It's very encouraging.
Wait a second, David. Hold on. Are you saying we did not elect Donald Trump? Because that's what we've heard, is that we helped him win the Republican nomination in 2016.
Yeah.
And my response always was, if you think people that voted for him watch this show, you've got another thing coming. But David, I want to put you on the spot here, and I'm being serious. I on the phone all weekend, I asked a lot of people, if it is the vice president, what does the vice president have to do to win? And I heard from one person after another person after another person, she needs to get David Plouffe inside on the campaign for the same reason that you just said. This is not plug and play. This is like going from, maybe you're a great quarterback at USC. Maybe you're drafted first. Maybe you've got what it takes. But that first snap in the NFL, when you're behind center for the Bears, it's going to, I remember talking to Emmitt Smith. He said, man, I thought I knew what getting hit was like in college. And then I went to the pros. And that first hit, you just walk around in a daze for about 30 seconds going, was I in a car crash? Here, from everything I understand, it's like that when you run for president of the United States, and you need people. We'll just say you need a Nick Saban type around to help out. Would you consider, and would other people that have been through this consider being part of this short campaign to help Kamala Harris or whomever beat Donald Trump?
Well, Joe, I think all of us on this panel probably spent more time on the phone in the last few days than we have in a long time. So what's interesting to me is I talk to people, former colleagues of mine, even people outside of politics who might be in the private sector. There's a lot of energy and interest in doing whatever's required. So I think that right now reports are that, the existing campaign leadership will stay in place, which is great. I think all of us who want to see Kamala Harris elected President Donald Trump not return to the White House will do whatever we need to, whether that's giving advice we can give or other efforts. So we got to let all this shake out. They've got to figure out. I will say this, maybe this gets in the weeds, but it's important. There's the outside game, which is what's the first interview, what's the first video you're going to record, what's the message, are you going to travel to what states and when? And then there's the inside game, which is how are you putting together a campaign to win? And I will say this, you had Jen O'Malley Dillon on your program Friday. She obviously was representing the world as she knew it then. It changed very dramatically on Sunday. There's nobody better on the planet to figure out how to get to 270 electoral votes. So the good news for Jen and Kamala Harris and everybody is if they have pieces they have to fill in, there'll be plenty of people willing to do it. But I think everybody has to understand the challenge. And I think Kamala Harris is up to it. I've been very impressed by her appearances and interviews over the last few weeks. And she's a prosecutor and he's a criminal. Like that matchup. And listen, let's not forget, the biggest issue in this campaign was Joe Biden's age. If Donald Trump gets elected, he'll be older than Joe Biden on Inauguration Day. Okay. And this guy is showing serious signs of unfitness, yes, in terms of his character and the positions he holds, but in terms of his decline. He is really, really having trouble reading the teleprompter. He obviously the RNC speech was bad in tone, but he couldn't follow instructions there. So this should give us all great pause. So I'm excited about this. And I think the Trump campaign doesn't seem like they were as prepared for this switch as perhaps they might have been. And they seem like they're kind of grasping, I guess they're talking about plastic straws and whatnot, which is not a compelling message.
Yeah. By the way, I'm so glad you brought up Jen O'Malley Dillon for a couple of reasons. First of all, she's a great campaign manager. She did a great job in 2020. And for those who have called me and said, well, gosh, what was she doing on Friday? You know what she was doing on Friday? She was being loyal. She was giving the President of the United States space. Loyal to the end, head down. And Jen O'Malley Dillon, man, I can't tell you, I mean, how much respect so many people have for her for doing just that. That is a class act. And I know Joe Biden is grateful for Jen O'Malley Dillon, and we as Americans should be too. And so, yeah, Rev, I mean, if we are talking, I've heard you say something that you're going from off-Broadway to Broadway the second you're running for president of the United States, and you need Jen O'Malley Dillon, David Plouffe. If you need somebody to stand up on a table and scream at the top of their lungs, maybe you get Rom back from Japan. You need everybody here for this 3-month run.
That is no doubt about it. I mean, first of all, we're trying to preserve some real things that was done. That's what I wrote about in the Times this morning. But you're running against a guy that is not going to be your orthodox opponent.
Right.
So, yes, Jen O'Malley is great and should be there. But we need a David Plouffe. When I was a kid, I was blessed to be around Muhammad Ali. No matter how much Black Power people talked, he kept Angelo Dundee in his corner.
Right.
And I said to him one day, I said, Champ, you talk all of this stuff about Black Power. Why do you keep Angelo Dundee? He said, because I learned from you guys how to rap, but he teaches me how to jab. And that's what you need. Why do I say David Plouffe and others? They ran against people that was questioning Barack Obama's birth.
Right.
And that's the kind of race you're going to. This is an ugly, venomous kind of opponent. And only a trainer that knows how to fight a guy that is not orthodox is going to be able to help. This is not going to be an orthodox race. I talked last night to the vice president. She's very sober-minded, very much of a grown-up, and she understands this is not some boxing match, 3-minute rounds with a referee. This is going to be a street fight because Donald Trump knows no other way, and Plouffe is an expert in getting the cut man in if we need it.
There you go.
By the way, the draft Plouffe movement really picking up steam.
Well,
on Morning Joe.
It really, I'm serious. I can't believe of all the people I talked to, they talked about how great Jen O'Malley Dillon was. They said they need David Plouffe in there.
Who are the best people?
Who are the best people? All hands on deck.
So